So I'm going to let you guys know right now, this round is an absolute banger. This is the exact reason why I drove all the way back to this store to grab the raw footage and copy it to my hard drive because I wanted to watch this exact match back, as well as the player on the left, Eamon Johnson. So he is a player who's played in Worlds many times as a senior, and we have myself on the right, Nick Race. You know me, the Ninja Nick 333 myself. So again, this is another round at Kirwan's Game Stores League Challenge. This is round 4. I think we're both we're like 2-2 or something. I think maybe I got up paired to Eamon. I don't even remember. We weren't doing that hot at this league challenge. I hit 2 chien-paos back to back. You can see the first one was already uploaded a few days ago, but I hit another one after that didn't play B-roll, but just top decked superior energy retrieval every turn. And we see that, of course, I myself am on the Rapid Strike deck, as I love to play. I'm considering just not playing it in the future, just to try to give you guys diversified content, but I love this deck. It's performed super well for me. I've earned 74 CP this season, 62 of which was in one weekend with this deck. I love it. It's so good. I think it has the best matchup spread in the format. Its only bad matchups are Mew, which you can sometimes outplay them, and Lugia, which you just straight up lose 100% of the time, but nobody in our area is currently playing Lugia because how much of a brick fest it is. And on the left here, Eamon is playing the star-studded United Wings deck, very reminiscent of Lost Box. Eamon and I both bonded very much back in the day over the Night March deck. We both played quite a lot of that back in the day during the 2016 format. So Eamon, when he saw this deck, he's like, oh, I'm playing that. He doesn't play too often anymore. But usually when Kirwan's does their league challenges and cups, he likes to come out. So United Wings was a really great, it's a really great cheap option for anybody. If you want to play just a fun, inexpensive deck, just play this. It's all just uncommons, really. You play like 2 Squawkabilly in it. That's probably like the most expensive card in the deck, except maybe Iono is, honestly. Are you even playing Iono in that deck? I don't even know if you are. But anyway, Eamon gets the Watch Roll start. For those of you who don't know how United Wings works, very reminiscent, again, of Lost Night March back in the day. It does 20 damage times the amount of Pokemon in your discard pile that have that same attack name. So in this case, United Wings. The Watch Roll and the Flamigo both attack for double turbo, and the Murkrow attacks for a darkness energy. The Murkrow is a darkness Pokemon, so with a boss's orders, you can easily one-shot the Gardevoir EX, so it actually has a pretty decent matchup against that card. Eamon is going to bench the Flamigo. Flamigo has the special ability, I forgot what it's called, Instaflock, I think it's called, where you can search your deck for up to 3 Flamigo and put them into your hand. So by benching one of it, you can get up to 3 more in your hand and then just research or Squawkabilly them away. It's absolutely fantastic. So he's already discarded one hand this turn, I think, with the Squawkabilly. No, with a research. Now he's going to use the Squawkabilly. So Squawkabilly says once during your first turn, you can discard your hand and draw 6. So gonna discard all of those United Wings Pokemon that he had in his hand, and we're gonna have to try to keep track of how many of them are in his discard pile. So I'm moving them all to the back for him, right now to the front, but I'm gonna spread them out because I know how he likes to do it, because I saw him doing it in previous rounds. So he puts them all to the side. You can only have one discard pile, so if you want to like essentially have 2 discard piles, you have to put it down like this. Just one pile, but some of them can be sideways and some of them not. So he also gets the Ditto into play. Ditto has no attacks, just an ability where it can copy the attacks of basic Pokemon in your discard pile. I think basic single prizers. Basic non-rule box Pokemon. So it can actually copy United Wings. So you could have every United Wings Pokemon in your deck in the discard pile, and then Ditto can still copy it and use the attack. So it doesn't matter if you draw the double turbo, if you draw the darkness energy, it doesn't matter because Ditto can copy either the Murkrow or the Flamigo or Watrol's attack to be able to use either attack cost. So the deck usually plays 4 double turbo and 4 darkness energy, because you do want the option of either attacker. So I did start the Urshifu. I was able to get a Rapid Strike energy down to it, as well as the Temple of Waters. And that was it for the turn. But I left the Urshifu active. Normally I would have strafed there, but the Wattrel actually resists fighting, so it would have taken 0, and then I would have had to put up one of my water Pokemon, which are lightning weak. So this matchup is very weird. So it's favored for me as the Rapid Strike player because I can take multiple knockouts, I can Yoga Loop, I can Rapid Flow, but there are ways that Eamon can pull it around very easily, and he can chain knockouts with Boss's Orders Wattrel in order to knock out my 3-prize Lightning Weak Inteleon VMAX. So it's just going to come down to whether or not he can do that. So the fact is, with the Wattrel, you need a lot of United Wings Pokemon in the discard pile to hit that number, and it has to attack with a double turbo, so it reduces by 20 before hitting the weakness. So in order to do 320, you have to do at least half of that is 150, 160. You have to do at least yeah, you have to hit 320. Half of that is 160, which is 8 United Wings Pokemon in the discard pile. But because of the double turbo, you actually need 7. Or no, you need 8. So with the double turbo, you need 9. So 9 is 180. Minus 20 is 160. Times 2 for weakness is 320. So you need 9 of them, and you're only playing 12. You're only playing 12 United Wings Pokemon. So you basically have to make both a 2 Wattrel be your last 2, and then go boss knockout on the Inteleons. So I'm going to try my best not to attack with the Inteleons, but right here, as you can see, I was forced to do it. So I do have a couple of Inteleon in play, one of them being the VMAX, as well as the Alakazam. I did use Double Gunner and then move the damage with my Radiant Alakazam to the Manaphy. I need to get that Manaphy out of play as soon as possible, and I need to potentially Yoga Loop it, or I need to at least a G-Max Rapid Flow the turn I Double Gunner KO it in order to take multiple knockouts. And the Flamigo is also fighting resistant, so if the Flamigo is active, I can't knock it out with G-Max Rapid Flow. Because it will take resistance. G-Max Rapid Flow only ever ignores resistance when you're hitting the bench. So if he, say, only has a Flamigo and another Pokemon in play, and I G-Max Rapid Flow, the Flamigo actually lives on 10. Because I only do 100 to the active Flamigo, and I wouldn't be able to win the game that way. I would have to, like, escape rope that turn to force the other bench Pokemon up, and then knock them both out that way. So, Eamon does get down another Ditto here. And you can also see that I did not return the energy to my hand. Normally with Inteleon VMAX, it's G-Max Spiral does 70 plus 70 if you return the Rapid Strike energy to your hand. But the Wattrel has 60 HP, so I was actually able to keep the Rapid Strike energy on my Inteleon, not returning it to my hand, in order to potentially have another free attack, or basically a way to pivot my guy even without the stadium, a way to retreat. So I like leaving it on there in certain situations like that. Like if you knock out, say, a Mew against Gardevoir and stuff like that. We are going to go for a second double gunner here. We are going to go for the Manaphy, of course, makes perfect sense, as well as any other Pokemon. We are going to choose the Kirlia because that is the next thing we want to go down. I also, I don't think I have any more water energies in hand, but it would be really great to be able to take the Gmax Rapid Flow this turn. We have 2 in the discard pile, so if we have something like Clara or Energy Retrieval, we could go for that and Rapid Flow. Looks like we do have the Energy Retrieval, so I'm just trying to figure out exactly, and the Clara in hand, so I'm trying to figure out my game plan. We are going to go for the Energy Retrieval. Let's save the Clara for a time when we want to get back a Pokemon like maybe that Inteleon VMAX. We're going to use this to move stupidly both damage counters. It doesn't really matter. You can choose to only move 1 damage counter, but the Kirlia only really works if you have it in even numbers anyway. So very minor misplay, but it could matter. So we knock out the Manaphy with the Alakazam's ability and combined with the Double Gunner ability, and now we can Rapid Flow, because we attached that other water energy for turn. And we are going to knock out the Kirlia as well as the active Ditto with the Gmax Rapid Flow to go down to 2 prize cards remaining. So that is why I call it a very minor misplay, because I moved the damage off of the Kirlia and I was still knocking it out that turn with Rapid Flow anyway. So if Eamon can't Super Rod the Manaphy back in and get it back into play this turn, as long as I have a Melanie in hand, I just win, because I can Melanie and then attach Rapid Strike Energy and then win. So I think Eamon just sees the writing on the wall there. He knows he still has 6 prize cards remaining. It looks like he prized double Ralts and a Kirlia, as well as Heavy Ball, Nest Ball, and a Flamigo. Those were pretty awful prize cards, not gonna lie. So that was definitely my game to win. And we go straight into game 2. So I know you guys can't see it, but I can. There is a round timer, and it looks like Stefan, our wonderful tournament organizer at Kirwan's. I do love the guy. He's great. But he forgot to put time on the clock for this round. So it says we're in time still from the previous round, and he never updated the timer. So I don't know how much time is left in the round, but I do know that we will have time to finish the match. So we are just going to shuffle up for the next game. So again, as long as Eamon can just get a whole bunch of guys into the discard pile early and then watch roll me twice on my Inteleons, he could just easily win. But if he doesn't do that, I just do what I did game 1. And imagine just throwing Yoga Loop in the middle of that as well. That's just super dirty. And again, it's very favored for me, but Eamon can just pull it out. So it's a very odd matchup. Heavily reliant on exactly how well Eamon draws in the first 2 turns. We're still shuffling. We're still shuffling. Okay. So I'm assuming Eamon is going to go first. Looks like I do start with a Battle VIP pass. You'll love to see it. I also start the Inteleon. I don't really want to be starting that in this matchup. I'd much rather start the Urshifu or the Remoraid. And it looks like... Oh, actually, no. I started the Luminion. Oh, I remember how this game went now. This is why I say this was a very interesting match. It's a very, very good match. So we saw how much I had a landslide victory in game 1. Well, now I started one of my bad starters. At least it's not Radiant Alakazam, for sure. But I have to attach to this to retreat, or I just let it get knocked out. So I think I feel safe just letting it get knocked out is most likely going to be the best game plan. But we'll see if that works out for me or not. So Eamon is going to Ultra Ball. He's going to get rid of a Zinnia's Resolve as well as a Rescue Carrier, it looks like, in order to search his deck for any one card. Looks like that is going to be the Squawkabilly EX, so that he can discard his hand and draw a new one. Also, I think he's level balling, I think is what that just was. He's going to get out a Ralts. I like that. He could have gotten a United Wings Pokemon in order to discard it with the Squawkabilly. That's a little bit more of an aggressive play. The Ralts is just Eamon valuing consistency over pure aggression. He knows that I started the Luminion, so it's more than likely he's going to knock me out on the next turn, even if he doesn't go full aggro. So he's just going to try to set up his Curlias to make sure that he always gets what he needs every single turn of the game by allowing him to use the Curlia's Refinement ability to discard a card and draw 2. He can always use that Refinement to discard some United Wingers later in the game as well. We do Squawk and Seize, but it looks like no research off of that. We would have loved to see a research to discard more United Wings Pokemon, but we did not get there. So I'm going to go play my Battle VIP Pass. We're going to be looking through our deck for any two Pokemon cards here. Looks like I am eyeing up the Inteleon V as well as a Remoraid. Looks like I'm looking through for more as well, so I might be getting more than just those. So it looks like we are going double Intel. Oh, and my hand is pretty bad here. So I have Ultra Ball, double Water Energy. So I am going to get down the Remoraid here as well. And I can Melanie as my supporter for turn. Or I could play the... I think there's the Iono in my hand as well. That would disrupt Eamon's hand. He didn't really do anything with his hand on this last turn after the Squawk and Seize. So do I really want to do that? I'm not quite sure. But also, if I just Melanie to any of my Pokemon, does that really get me anywhere? So yeah, I'm just going to go for the Iono. I think this is definitely the correct choice of action here. I think maybe it might have been better to... So... The reason that I didn't go for an Urshifu earlier is because I knew I was discarding both of those water energies with the Ultra Ball and then playing Iono, and I'd rather, if I wanted to get the Urshifu and attach the water energy to it, I could have done that, but then I would have had to discard the Melanie with the Ultra Ball. So I wanted to save the Melanie for later in the game. I think it's too important to try to set up Urshifu multiple times in a row. It could just allow me to win, especially knowing that I'm probably going to allow my opponent to take 2 prize cards on this first turn. I want to value just the pure consistency of getting off multiple rapid flows and hoping that maybe a Manaphy isn't in play. But even if it is, I have double Inteleon V. So maybe we can get there. I do Nest Ball for a second Remoraid. I'm not really quite sure why I do that. I think I do it because, like, maybe I think that Eamon would boss up my Remoraid and knock it out. Maybe I have an Octillery in hand. I don't think I do. But I think it would have been better to just Nest Ball for maybe Radiant Alakazam. Or maybe just Radiant Alakazam isn't in the deck at the moment. But I do use Energy Retrieval to get back the double water energy I already discarded this turn and attach it to the Urshifu. Now, I could have attached that energy to the Luminion to allow me to retreat next turn if I have, like, Inteleon VMAX and the Rapid Strike energy. Remember, Luminion is not a Rapid Strike Pokemon, so the Tower of Water Stadium card does not give it free retreat. It does not reduce its retreat by 2. So I do actually have to manually attach to it in order to be able to move it. But I'm assuming that this Luminion is going to go down, so the safe play is definitely just attaching to the Urshifu and trying to G-Max Rapid Flow on the next turn to tie up the game in prize cards. And then Eamon doesn't really have a swift way to deal with the Urshifu, and since I conserved that Melanie, maybe there will be a way for me to redraw into it and use that on the following turn after that. So that's my thought process at the game in this game at that moment. So we do see the Ultra Ball getting rid of 2 United Wingers to search the deck for a Flamigo, which then searches the deck for 3 Flamigo. And we are going to Refinement away the first one of those to draw 2 more cards. And Eamon is drawing pretty hot right now. He is trying to put everything together that he wants. The question is, will he get to enough United Wings Pokemon in the discard pile to actually take the knockout on the Luminion? So the nest ball, he is thinking about what to get. I think you have to get the Manaphy here. You have to prevent me from rapid flowing. Yeah, because now if I rapid flow, I can only knock out an active Pokemon. And if you look here, he's only got 3 United Wings Pokemon in the discard pile. He just put those off to the side. So not looking good for me right now. We do see, it looks like that must have been a research here. We're discarding a Gallade. That Gallade is really good against Arceus, does 60 damage for each Pokemon V your opponent has in play for a double Turbo Energy. So if they have 3 Pokemon V, you can usually one-shot an Arceus, I believe. 6, 12, 18, 160, 320. Yeah. So if they have 3, one-shot. So he uses his double Hisuian Heavy Ball with this deck plays because it is important to find those United Wings Pokemon out of the prize cards. I wish we had Hisuian Heavy Ball in the format back when Night March was a thing, but Night March was good enough as it is. It was not meant to ever be a good deck. It was meant to be played in a format with Lysander's trump card that says both players shuffle their discards into their deck except the Lysander's trump card. But then they banned Lysander's trump card for no reason. I say no reason. A lot of people think it was super relevant, but I disagree. They think it made Mega Rayquaza too good, but I think it was fine. Because then they solved one problem by just creating a worse one, in all honesty. Although I preferred Lost Night March. I thought that was a fun deck. But I also thought pre-trump card Mega Rayquaza was a fun deck too. So now he does not knock out my Luminion. It lives on exactly 10, so I have to attach for a turn to the Luminion. So this is really weird in order to try to move it. So I'm going to try to deny prize cards by retreating into a Remoraid. I think I could have just researched and then just tried to set up something else and hoped to draw into my escape rope. Might have been a better play, but then I just, if I miss it, I let the Luminion die for 2 prize cards. So I'd rather make my opponent work for it and let them take a 1 prize knockout instead of a 2 prize knockout. So we are going to go for double gunner. We're going to put 4 onto the Kirlia and 4 onto the Manaphy. And then we are just going to retreat into one of our 2 Remoraid and pass the turn. So we are now in the perfect position for my opponent to just get a whole bunch of United Wings Pokemon into the discard pile and take a nice Boss's Orders one-shot on my Inteleon VMAX. But he's still looking for quite a lot here at the moment in order to get to that. So we do see a research, but it's getting rid of a Kirlia. Or is that 2 Kirlia? It's at least 1 Kirlia and another Psychic Pokemon, I can't tell. It might have been the Buddy Catch Gallade, actually. Yeah, I think it was Kirlia Buddy Catch Gallade. The one that searches for a supporter. It's a great way for him to find Boss's Orders late game. And he is just going to take the knockout on the Remoraid, doing more than enough for knockout because of the fact that it's got 60 HP. So I just attach Rapid Strike Energy to my active. I have a 3-card dead hand. I can't tell what's in it at the moment, but definitely not anything super relevant. Also, I just realized one of the lights on one of the fans in my PC is going out because it keeps flickering. Like, no wonder I keep thinking that I see flashing lights every once in a while out in the corner of my eye. It's the fan's light is dying. I'm due for some PC upgrades. I just don't have the money. I think I want to get a better CPU and an AIO or IO cooler, whatever it's called, the liquid cooler. Well, my PC is more than powerful enough to handle everything I already do with it, and I don't really game on it, so there's no point. Not yet, at least. So we see an Ultra Ball getting rid of double Murkrow, so we are getting up in the in the United Wings count. I keep wanting to call it Night March, Lost March, and Lost Box. I don't know why Lost Box. It makes no sense to me. So it looks like we are going to retreat this Flamigo with the Darkness Energy into the Wattrel with the Double Turbo to be able to actually take the knockout on my Inteleon VMAX. So Eamon played that perfectly by setting up the Flamigo with that energy to be able to retreat into the Wattrel. Because I knocked out the only Wattrel that was in play, and now Eamon was able to just attack with a fresh one after getting enough in the discard. So now Eamon is at 2 prize cards remaining, and I have a Luminion with 10 HP remaining on it. Even if at any point in this game, Eamon just finds a boss's orders, he could win. So I have to be drawing hot from now on. And remember, on the last turn, I had a 3-card dead hand. So there is, if I can draw into like a supporter or something to refresh my hand, I could potentially go for a Yoga Loop and then a Rapid Flow to be able to take 3 prize cards, but then I'm still left with 2, right? So I need to be able to go hot. I think that what I need to do is I actually need to take, yeah, and since now that I'm down one of my Inteleon VMAXs, I can only use 1 Double Gunner a turn. So with this Alakazam, I really need to figure out exactly what I'm doing here. So it looks like I'm moving damage to the Manaphy to try to set up a Yoga Loop in a future turn. And we just see the boss's orders for the Luminion, and Eamon is able to take the knockout with the Ditto. So that was a pretty clean game from Eamon's side this time. So I'd say we both had pretty convincing good games, and we go into a game 3 now. So you'll love to see United Wings being able to take out a game against such a bad matchup. United Wings just being such a fun deck. It is pretty frail because it does have the bad matchup to this, as well as Lost Box. Lost Box being one of the most popular decks in the format, I would say. And a good Gardevoir player can just outplay you as well by, if they can use their Super Rod on Cresselia 2 times, they can actually just keep picking the Murkrow off of your bench continuously, so that you can never get to a turn where you can set up Murkrow and, like, boss's orders knock out a Gardevoir EX. And then, of course, you could always just boss up their Squawk before they can discard it with the Collapse Stadium and take a knockout with a single prizer. So I think that it's still slightly favored for Gardevoir even. So I don't think United Wings has that great of matchups across the board, but I think it's probably the most singularly fun decks to play in the format. Doesn't take too much thought behind it, but does have definitely a skill curve to it because, you know, you have the Buddy Catch Gallade, and you have the choices of what to discard with the Refinement if you, like, say, don't have a United Wings Pokemon in your hand. Sometimes you have to manage which United Wing Pokemon you have. You can Rescue Carrier certain ones back. I remember one time with Night March, I was up against a Mega Sceptile deck, and I needed all but one of my Night Marchers in the discard pile to one-shot it with a Choice Band, I want to say, or a Muscle Band or whatever it was at the time. I want to say. I could be wrong on the math on that. But I just remember I could only have one in play, and then I one-shot their Sceptile, their Mega Sceptile, and then They brought up another Mega Sceptile, knocked my only Night March Pokemon that I had left out. And then I played Super Rod. And you were required to shuffle up to 3 in combination of Basic Energy and Pokemon, I believe, at that time. I don't think that you could do just... I don't think you could choose up to. I think it was mandatory. So I put 3 Night Marchers back into my deck, Shamaned into them, discarded the 2 of them with Ultra Ball, put the other one down, put a Float Stone on my active, retreated, and knocked him out in 1 hit again to win. So like stuff like that you can still do in this deck. So I start with the Urshifu. I am able to get an attachment for a turn down to it. I also bench the Medicham as well as the Inteleon V, because those are all in my hand. And at this point, I still don't know if he's playing Iono or not. I wasn't familiar with the list at this point, so I put the Medicham down just in case he does, like, Iono me. But I'm pretty sure this list plays 0 Iono at this point. I think Eamon is playing a list a little bit different from Alex Szymanski's one, because I know he plays 3 Ditto in it. And I think Szymanski only, and Bergerac only played 2. I remember actually seeing Mike Bergerac, at the Starbucks right before day 2 started, and I'm like, I'm coming for you, Burge, because Burge was on the birds, and he's like, nah, you can stay away. He's like, I'm not a fan of that matchup. So we do see a double turbo energy coming down to the Watch Roll that Eamon started with. Starting Watch Roll in this deck is a pretty good idea against the Rapid Strike deck, because I could just start a water Pokemon and then you can get a very easy 2 prizes right there, potentially. Just like in the last game, but Eamon did miss it, unfortunately for him. But he still managed to win the game, so it doesn't matter. So we are going to see an Ultra Ball. We actually get rid of a Ditto this time, and as well as the Murkrow, in order to get the Squawkabilly. We're going to use his ability to Squawk and Seize. That's why they call him a Squawkabilly, because he can squawk. He has ability to squawk. Ignore me. So he can discard his hand and draw 6 on this first turn of the game. And the combo you normally want to do with this is that you want to Flamigo, get 3 Flamigo into your hand with it by benching it. Then you Squawk and Seize, discard all of those, and then draw into a fresh hand with more United Wings Pokemon and a Research, and then research those United Wings Pokemon away to get a whole bunch in there all on turn 1. And then collapse Stadium away your Squawkabilly so that it's no longer in play. But sometimes if you need that little bit of extra damage, say you're 1 United Wings Pokemon short of taking a knockout, you could actually collapse Stadium away the Flamigo instead to take that knockout, but you are of course putting yourself at risk of having that Squawkabilly bossed up and knocked out for 2 prize cards. So here comes the level ball that's going to search the deck for any 1 Pokemon with 90 HP or less. He is trying to decide between a Ralts as well as a Manaphy. Definitely goes for the correct play of the Manaphy. If he didn't go for the Manaphy, all I need to do is evolve and attach a Rapid Strike Energy, and then I take 2 prizes at least. Even if I have Double Gunner as well as Alakazam, I could actually take 3 prize cards by knocking out the Squawkabilly, because it has 160 HP, much like the Baxcalibur. So all I need is 1 Double Gunner and Radiant Alakazam, or 2 Double Gunners, in order to be able to Rapid Flow that on the bench. It does have Fighting Resistance, but again, if you Rapid Flow a bench Pokemon, it does not apply Weakness or Resistance. But it will apply those Weakness or Resistance to an active Pokemon. So we do see the evolution into the Inteleon VMAX. I am going to discard my Water Energy to Double Gunner the Ditto, as well as the Manaphy. I like to do that little, like, I push the Pokemon that I'm putting the damage onto so that my opponent doesn't go, wait, what Pokemon? After I pull my hands away. So you can see those two Pokemon I like pushed a little bit are like down lower on the board now. So it's just like a small little mental trick to try to help my opponents along. We do see my only supporter for turn was the Melanie. Putting that water energy that I just discarded back into play, but onto the Urshifu, unfortunately. I can retreat my Urshifu now because it has a 2 retreat cost, but I have the Tower of Waters. I can retreat for free here. And I just put up the Medicham and pass. I'm just gonna let this Medicham take the hit here. Because I have nothing going on for me right now. Again, a very unfortunate play. I did this earlier in the tournament where I had to escape rope into my Remoraid so I could attach to it to retreat to then Melanie to try to just draw some cards. You can't draw the 3 with Melanie unless you also attach the water energy from your discard pile. Unlike other supporters that are draw 3 in addition to their effects, like Worker, you can still just use it as a draw 3, even if there's no stadium in play because of the way it's worded. But with Melanie, it is a requirement to attach the energy first. So hopefully my Medicham does not go down here. But we are going to see the Collapse Stadium is going to discard the Tower of Waters, and we see the discard of the Flamigo because Eamon realizes he needs that extra damage here in order to take the knockout, even has the boss's orders, so hit me for 100 on the last turn, needs to hit 120 this turn, so uses the Collapse Stadium, getting rid of his Flamigo so he can do that extra 20 he needs, and gets rid of my Urshifu. Definitely an amazing play there from Eamon. You'll love to see it. I mean, not from my perspective, but from your perspective at home, you'll love to see it. So I do I think I top decked that Irida. So now we're going to use that to search our deck for any 1 water Pokemon and 1 item card. We are going to use the Octillery as the water Pokemon, which Eamon has to read because I don't even think I put it down this match so far. You just search your deck for a Rapid Strike card once a turn. You can only use 1 Octillery a turn. And then for the item, not really even sure what I'm going for. I could go for like Energy Retrieval. Looks like I'm going to go for the Ultra Ball. I don't have Luminion. I haven't Luminioned yet, so I could always Luminion for another supporter on a next turn if I want to Ultra Ball for that. But it looks like I'm going to use that Octillery to grab the Rapid Strike energy out of the deck that I need. And I can Ultra Ball here. I think there is 1 more supporter in my hand, but I can't tell if that's Clara or if that's something better. Yeah, I think that's Clara, actually. Yeah, that's definitely Clara. So I'm thinking about using the Ultra Ball here. I don't see any reason why not to in hindsight here, just because that's a Battle VIP Pass and a Drapion. Those are 2 cards I don't want to have, but I could always save it for the next turn. My opponent doesn't play Path to the Peak, so I can always just save the Ultra Ball in case I want to go for Luminion, or if I top deck a supporter, then maybe I can go for an Urshifu instead, and maybe find some way to do like a Yoga Loop turn. And I do attack with my Inteleon VMAX, and I am really hoping that Eamon does not do the same thing he did in the previous game, which is one-shot the Inteleon VMAX. Immediately following the only Waltroll in play going down. So we do see the Kirlia is going to discard a Murkrow to draw 2 more cards. We do find the Waltroll here, which we can retreat into because of the fact we have the Darkness energy on the Ditto right now. Or did he attach that energy this turn? I'm a little... I missed whether he attached that this turn or not. But either way, we are going to Ultra Ball, getting rid of Zinnia Rescue Carrier again, just like he did in Game 1. Very funny that he found that exact same combination of cards and thought that that was still the same correct thing to discard with the Ultra Ball, just to get another Murkrow out as well. Either to put in hand or to discard with maybe a Professor's Research, just to up those damage numbers. It could matter if he wants to knock out that Medicham in 1 hit on a future turn. So definitely try to set that up. And we do go for the Research, immediately putting that Murkrow into the discard pile. We do draw quite a bit of cards. I do see maybe a couple psychic Pokemon, or maybe just one. Is that the buddy catch? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 6 United Wings Pokemon in the discard pile. And I don't think we have a double turbo either, so even if that energy was attached last turn, we can't retreat and attack with the Watch Roll this turn, which is really unfortunate. And we are also, I think one no, we definitely did attach last turn. Nothing else to attach to, so might as well attach to the Kirlia because you could always evolve it into the Buddy Catch, and then it could attack in a future turn. I think it costs triple colorless. So you could attach the Dark as well as a double turbo in order to attack. So we are just going to go for 200 damage to the Inteleon VMAX. So definitely don't want to attack with that again. And it looks like we did top deck exactly Professor's research. So saving the Ultra Ball for this turn was big brain plays. We are now able to use that to search for a non-Luminian card to put into play. Looks like I'm choosing to go with the Radiant Alakazam because I can move that 20 damage from the Ditto to the bench as well as double gunner it and then G-Max Rapid Flow. So it all and then Yoga Loop. So I definitely want to piece together the Yoga Loop this turn, so I am going to go for the Alakazam. It is a little bit risky because now I don't have any other Inteleons or Urshifus in play, and it would be nice to try to start setting those up. But this is also another important reason why I kept that Rapid Strike energy onto the on the Inteleon VMAX here, is because now I can retreat it even without getting the Stadium off of this in order to Yoga Loop on this turn. And it looks like I am going to go for the Iono. So Eamon is going to shuffle his hand, put it on the bottom of the deck, and I think he draws, what's he at? He took 2 prize knockout, right, on the Urshifu, so he draws 4 cards, and I'm going to draw a whole 5, and I do get the water energy, so I am able to potentially get to where I need to be this turn. So I do get a Rapid Strike energy, so I do have the Yoga Loop this turn. So I'm going to move 1 damage counter from the Ditto to the Manaphy, and I think this is where Eamon reads Alakazam, because I moved 2 previously from the Kirlia. And I'm like, yeah, it's up 2. And then I do get the Stadium, so I could have discarded the energy if I didn't get the Stadium, but this is better. Now I'm going to Yoga Loop the Manaphy, I'm going to take the knockout and an additional turn since a Pokemon was knocked out from that 2 damage counters I put down, and I draw the Forest Seal Stone. That is probably one of the best top decks I could have asked for. I am going to put that down to my only my only VMAX Pokemon, I guess, in play, the Inteleon VMAX. And now what do I do with this hand? Because it would have been really great to get an Urshifu down on the last turn so I could evolve it this turn. Looks like I'm not going to be able to Rapid Flow this turn, which is what I really want to do. Because if I were to Rapid Flow, get rid of Ditto and Watch Roll, that would be really good, because now Eamon has to find a way to move the Kirlia into a new attacker that he benches that turn. But we're not quite there. So what I would like to see is an Inteleon V down, as well as a Urshifu V down this turn. I used the Forest Seal Stone to search my deck for a Professor's Research, it looks like. So I'm going to be able to use that to discard my hand and draw a fresh 7. Definitely what I am looking for this turn. So not only did I Iono my opponent, but I also get to research myself as well on the subsequent turn I get to have. Now, I'm wondering, where do I put this Rapid Strike energy? Because I'm going to lose it from this research. It's definitely more correct than like playing Iono or something. I thought about putting it to the Inteleon because I could always put it back into my hand when attacking, but I choose to put it to the Medicham instead, because I can, at the worst, smash Uppercut this turn without having to risk my 3 prize Pokemon. I'm going to find another Forest Seal Stone as well as 3 Water Energies, but I don't have any more Pokemon V, it looks like, so that is kind of scary. We are going to use double gunner. We're going to put 2 damage counters onto Wattrel and 2 to the Kirlia. And now we are able to use Radiant Alakazam to move 2 damage counters from the Kirlia to the Wattrel to take a prize card. And use Smash Uppercut or G-Max Spiral to be able to take the knockout on the active, thus removing all of the United Wings Pokemon from play. So even though this is not what I want to see, this is still a really stellar turn. Or I could just choose not to take that knockout, and then I can still Yoga Loop on the next turn. But I would rather use this Octillery to search for another Inteleon V, and hopefully have double gunner next turn, because I could always search for the Inteleon V Max next turn with the Octillery, and I still have 2 water energies in hand, I believe. So yeah, I think Smash Uppercut definitely feels like the correct choice right now. And again, I have not used my Alakazam just yet, so I think removing the damage from the Kirlia is correct. Yeah, so I'm just deciding whether or not I want to leave the Wattrel there for use with Yoga Loop on next turn, or if I just want to take it out now. And I think taking it out now is more correct. It does feed into... The reason I'm thinking about it so hard... Okay, maybe this isn't how I thought I did it. Am I retreating? Yeah, I do decide to Smash Uppercut. Okay. Yeah, so I think if the Wattrel... I think my reasoning here was if the Wattrel comes up and he does get the boss for the KO on my Inteleon VMAX, he's not getting full value out of that Wattrel. So it is safe to just do it this way. And, like, I want to bait him into doing that so that then I can Yoga Loop on this next turn. And it looks like that's exactly what Eamon goes for. So he goes for the bait that I put out. And I think it's definitely more correct. I think Eamon has enough United Wings Pokemon in the discard pile to knock out the... Or he might have been 1 short still, but I think he had enough. He might have been able to knock out the Medicham. So definitely knocking out the Medicham was the more correct play, because now I can Yoga Loop yet again. And I already set up the Inteleon V last turn to be able to come back. And it looks like I'm going to go for the Clara play this turn. You see me moving the Pokemon and energies to my top of my discard pile here. So I go for the Inteleon VMAX as well as the Urshifu V and 2 water energies. I attach for a turn to the Urshifu. I'm going to double gunner. And I'm going to put 2 damage counters to both of the benched Pokemon here. And I can choose to use Alakazam to move damage to the active. But I'd rather not do that. So yeah, I move the damage to the Kirlia. I move 1 more damage counter there. So the one that I moved from the Ditto before did sort of matter, because now there's still 1 on the Ditto here. And I take the knockout with Yoga Loop, get to take an additional turn, and you always love to see setting up the Urshifu V the turn you Yoga Loop, so you can set up the G-Max Rapid Flow on the next turn. So I'm going to use the double gunner to knock out the Kirlia, take another prize card. Now I'm left with 1 prize card. Even if I just escape rope, I can win the game. Because I have the tower and I could always just retreat back into the Medicham. So if I have Irida, I could go Irida for rope to win the game. But it looks like I don't have that, so I'm just going to research a huge hand away. To try to dig for exactly what I need. Still haven't used the Rapid Strike Search of Octillery this turn. And there is the Escape Rope in hand, so do I see it or not is the question. What I'm really trying to do is set up Rapid Flow to knock out that bench Pokemon, and I'm tunneling right now. You guys know how I like to tunnel vision a lot. And I'm not seeing the escape rope because what I'm looking for is the Urshifu VMAX and the Rapid Strike energy. And I don't have either of those. I know that if I had one of them, I can search the other with Octillery. And because I'm tunneling so hard, I'm not playing the escape rope. I'm just doing everything else. I didn't shuffle my deck yet, but aim and cut it anyway. And then I'm almost thinking of like smash uppercutting here. Oh, and then I finally see the escape rope. And then I'm thinking, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can just move into another Pokemon and then retreat. And then yeah, and then I move, and then I just retreat with the stadium, and then I smash uppercut for the game. So that was wild. I had one Inteleon VMAX in play for almost the entire game, and I barely managed to squeeze it out with that. That was a really close game 3, and wow. And I almost tunneled and didn't see the game when I had it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. As always, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe, all that good YouTube algorithm stuff up above that is very important to do. And yeah, that's how that matchup goes. Really, really fun set. Did not draw as optimally as I should have, but I have since made my deck slightly more consistent with that third Forest Sealstone. So, yeah, we will see you guys next time with hopefully some more live footage. Yeah, and don't forget to follow my Twitch too. I've been streaming a lot more regularly now. And it's been pretty fun. It's been pretty fun.